I was going to go out and hang out with Russillo, but, you sit down with him, and he starts giving you these crazy NBA theories, and it'll mess with my head. From The Ringer, my buddy, host of the Ryen Russillo podcast. All right, so I watched the Nets, and I'm just going to lay it out there. They have the best closer in the game in KD. They have the best small closer. I don't know if their chemistry's good. Their bench is suspect. I don't know if Steve Nash can coach. But, God, the history of the league is I get the best big closer, the best small closer. How do you view them? Could they beat? Now, I like them over Boston if Simmons plays a little, but that's a different thing. Could they win the East, in your opinion?
Yeah, they definitely could win the East. I felt like towards the end of the season, I'm like, all right, how locked in are they defensively? But if you look at the last 15 games, Colin, they finished top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense. Durant almost carried this team past Milwaukee last year with missing basically two guys. You could say he was missing 1.5 guys because Harden was limited so much in that series as well. I like when Seth Curry's available. I like what they've done with Nick Claxton. I guess they sort of have a body in Drummond to go up against Embiid, and he looked really motivated as he had been traded from Philly and went up in that matchup. I don't know if that holds up for 7 games, but Durant is that special. I mean, this isn't breaking news. He's that kind of guy that I'm always going to be scared of, even if I'm not sure about the pieces around him. So forget the seeding. Look, they were the number 1 seed in the East, I think, when he went down with a knee injury. And Kyrie, at this point, I mean, they are connected. Durant has his back the entire time. The Nash part of it, I hear people say he can't coach. Hey, would you enjoy being a head coach in the situation that he had with the Nets in the last 2 years? I mean, are you kidding me that we're going to look through all the mess that Nash had? So, yeah, I look, if Simmons comes back, because it's a good point to bring up. If Simmons comes back, his role is completely different, Colin. He's not asked to create offensively off the dribble pull up or hit open shots.
Right.
All he has to do is take the Bruce Brown role, which has been really good. Maybe they're both out there where you're like, look, just cut off the double. Kevin Durant got double teamed all night. That's why everybody else ate. He was perfect. He was making reads. His passing is terrific. His defense is terrific. So if they have Simmons and he has no pressure on him and he's healthy and conditioned enough to go here, yeah, I think they're a real threat in the East. There's no reason why not.
Yeah. So, I like the Clippers last night. That was painful. So they're going to play. I think they'll win. They'll beat the Spurs or Pelicans. I believe that. And good coach, good roster, a lot of versatile wings. And then they're going to get doused by the Suns. Let me throw this at you. Steve Ballmer loves basketball. I was told years ago that he would go in Seattle when he was the second richest guy in the world. He would go to high school basketball tournaments all weekend in Seattle and watch basketball. He loves it. He's crazy. He's the richest owner. He's not spending this money to be an 8 seed. And I look at this and I'm like, Kawhi has been underwhelming. Paul George is amazing but can let you down. If they get in and get doused by the Suns, could you see them rearranging the chairs here with Kawhi and Paul George? You're tied in. I mean, they pay a lot of money for their front office. I just think he's looking at this thing going, this is not, I didn't pay for this. Could they be a trade partner in this league, Kawhi, Paul George leaving?
I wouldn't rule anything out in this league, but I think Kawhi at this point, you realize that you're dealing with somebody who's not super locked in to updating the organization that he plays for. As was once told by a very smart man that knew the deal, said, if anybody tells you they know what Kawhi Leonard's thinking, don't ever listen to them about Kawhi ever again. And that's the situation. That's what you sign up for when Kawhi's your guy. I think when you look at a basketball team and you would say to them in a vacuum, if you trade these picks and you give these 2 players all this money, you're going to have Kawhi and Paul George, or you can wait for other opportunities to present themselves. You would go ahead and do that deal. I think some of these unprotected picks that teams, not just the Clippers, everybody's been throwing around the last couple of years is going to come back to haunt some people. We could see a correction on that. So whenever I see the result, I'll be like, okay, but what was the original plan? Oh, the original plan was you get Kawhi and Paul George? Okay, sign me up for that. Because even though I, like you, some doubts about Paul George, although he had a good game last night, redeemed himself a bit in the playoffs last season, Kawhi was that guy. Kawhi, when healthy, was clearly a top 5 player in this league. The problem is it was shut down in San Antonio, very limited in how he played with Toronto, but got him a title. And now we here with the Clippers, and both these guys got paid, Colin. So if you're another team desperate to feel like you're upgrading sort of your number 1 guy, that's one thing. But Kawhi just hasn't been healthy enough. Yeah. So I wouldn't put anything past anyone in this league. But if you're another team, Kawhi is not nearly as appealing today as he was a couple years ago.
So the NBA makes it difficult to make trades. It's just the way the league works. NFL, you can cut guys. NBA can't. So the Westbrook situation with the Lakers is tough. And I was telling Joy this yesterday. I've worked at places where sometimes you have lazy coworkers and indifferent coworkers and limited in talent. But if you have toxic coworkers, you got to move off. Like, that is a non-starter. Westbrook is toxic. Hell, the fans are on him. So you got to get him out of the room. Now, I want to ask you, because I think you could be a GM in this league, that you're that into it. If you're the Lakers, listen, I can come back and just say, Ryen, I'm going to let it bake for another year. I mean, LeBron wanted this guy. I'm going to let it bake for another year, and they're going to. But I think the market's too big. The brand's too big. Like I said yesterday, if the Cincinnati Reds stinks or the Kings do in Sacramento, nobody cares. If the Yankees or Lakers do, you're going to get crushed for a year by the media, by everybody. So my guess is they're going to make a move on this stuff pretty fast. Is there something out there with Westbrook?
All right. Well, am I going to be able to tell you, hey, here's the landing spot for him? No, I can't give you that as if it's very specific. But I think we've learned this lesson throughout all of our careers that have covered the NBA. As soon as you say a transaction is impossible, you're usually proven wrong. All right. So it's a massive number. It's $47 million. It's 1 year left. There's a couple things that you could do. But to say he's untradeable, I think we know that it's very complicated. But I don't know that there's ever impossible anymore in this league, especially even though he's not rep by Clutch. If Clutch starts telling other teams, pulling the levers the way a lot of deals happen with powerful agents, be like, hey, maybe you do this, maybe down the road we'll take care of you somewhere. And I think a lot of deals can be motivated by that. But let's get back to your Westbrook thing, because I completely agree. I mean, the most frustrating thing is that you're asking someone to change that will never change. When he looks in the mirror, he sees something different than the rest of us see as a basketball player, okay? And then even his comments after the fact, he's delusional in the idea that Vogel never gave him a chance. When Vogel really stuck by him, I thought, a lot more than he wanted to. And if the team was still competitive, Colin, I think it would have gone worse for Westbrook, because they would have said, hey, we still have a chance to be in the playoffs. We're actually going to bench this guy a little bit more. The season was such a disaster. He's like, all right, stay out there. But here's the biggest complication with Westbrook. It's not just the money, Colin. It's that a lot of people throw around a Westbrook rumor going, oh, well, this team stinks, so just trade him there. Like, all right. But when Westbrook shows up to your team, you're now playing by his rules. And if you're a young team that's bad, but you're now 3 or 4 lottery picks in, hoping you're developing something, throwing him into the mix makes it even worse, because he is so stubborn. And stubborn is why he's successful, but stubborn is why he's now a bad fit almost everywhere he's gone. I mean, Colin, the next team he's on will have been 5 teams in 5 years for a guy that we were trying to say was one of the best players in the game. You know, like, I have a bit of a rule. Like, if you work somewhere, if you have 7 jobs in less than a decade, you are either amazing or you have a hard time working with other people. So I would never rule out anything in this league and all the things going on behind the scenes of pulling stuff off and promises down the road. But it's not that he can go to a good team and mess them up. He can't really even go to a bad team, because I think the front office that's developing something isn't going to want to mess with it.
All right. Well, I know you care about social causes. Don't be gluing yourself to a floor here in the near future.
What's her approval rating right now? That's pretty low for like, they were making jokes about her during the game. Did you have a zinger today on the show? Did you have a couple that you were workshopping?
No. You know what? I'm past that now. It's a fight for journalism and justice on this show. No jokes, no wit. Not people.
You're no longer a zinger guy. All right, noted.
All right, Russillo. We'll see you later. Maybe after a couple of cold brews, I'm a zinger guy. All right, my man. Poor Bill Simmons. When those Celtics lose to the Nets, he's going to be so sad. He is. I got to tell you something. I rooted for Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. I like the villain. I rooted for him. And I'm rooting for the dark hats of the NBA playoffs, the Brooklyn Nets.
I love a good villain. I think villains make the story more complex.
The Joker. Rooting Darth Vader. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.